Good evening. It's not hi guys tonight, it's another one of those non-live live streams and they're very posh. Well, that's my excuse. I will just sort of mention about like, subscribe, share, especially share, comment, that's helpful, and all that stuff. And now we'll get on with it. It's been thinking over the last couple of days. Actually, I went into Lidl's the other day and it was sort of slightly amazing. So it got me thinking about all these food shortages. I have spent possibly the last 2 months trying to get cheap lemonade. You know, their diet lemonade. It's 17p for 2 litres. It's cheaper than their fizzy water. And orange juice, and they have been out of stock for 2 months. And I went in the other day, went into the big one down at the bottom by the fire station, and bare shelves as usual. So I went into my local one and it's about all they had. The place was packed full of it. I've never seen so much lemonade and orange juice in one place. And I asked the cashier about it and she said, yeah, I don't know what happened. She said, we were there busy minding our own business. I'm going to start again because this is still not right. That's better, I think. Good evening. We're being formal because it's a not live stream, so we're not saying hi guys, we're saying good evening and being posh. That's a first for the books, isn't it? I will, because they get cross if you don't. They like, share, subscribe, comment. There's another one, isn't there? But I can't think what it is. Anyway, yeah, if you can, it would be very helpful. Particularly, I think share and comment seems to work quite well too. Not so sure about liking. You can always delete it from your liked folder if you don't like it. It's not a problem. I won't know. Anyway, I've been thinking about several things recently, so there might be quite a few of these staggered in quick succession, hopefully fairly quick ones as well. We still don't have the wherewithal to do a live stream, but I'm working on it, and that might come up. You know, there's some help for that might come up in another one in the very near future. Yeah, I've been hunting Lidl's. I went in the other night and had a big surprise. I've been hunting Lidl's for the last 2 months, maybe longer, trying to get their cheap diet lemonade. The big 2 litre bottles, which are 17p for 2 litres. It's cheaper than their fizzy water. It's cheaper than their still water. And no luck, no, we can't get it, no, it's out of stock, blah, blah, blah. And I went into the big one down by the fire station the other night, and the shelves were bare. And I went up to the local one, and they had more than they knew what to do with. They had absolutely tons of the stuff. And I asked the girl at the checkout what happened. She said, I don't know, we've been able to get it for months, and now we've got more than we know what to do with. A big lorry turned up, and it's about all it had was orange juice and cheap lemonade. We don't sell that much. Well, anyway, I've got some now, and I haven't bought any up because I've forgotten. But it got me thinking about these food shortages, and I sort of started going around to other places and looking up, sort of kind of noticing what they've got and what they haven't. For quite some time, it's become a bit of a hobby since lockdown started and we couldn't get any bog roll. For weeks and weeks and weeks, there was absolutely no bog roll in the whole of the country, or so it seemed. And we don't have a problem with that now. We got the bog roll back, flour disappeared, and I couldn't get any flour for about 6 weeks. And I was naughty. I went quite a long way looking for flour. But this particular shortage seems to be slightly different. In Lidl's, apart from having absolutely no crisps for a week, everything else stocked out, no crisps. Then they had no wine for a while. That doesn't really bother me. I've got gallons of the stuff lying around that I haven't drunk for years. Tons of it. And all of a sudden it's gone. And then it's back again. And then the beer disappeared. And then the soft drinks disappeared. Various things. Certain items, and only certain items would go. And then I noticed a trend between them and the other one, the American lot that don't like bikers, Asda. I started looking in there, seeing what they were out of, and yeah, lemonade. They didn't have any lemonade. I went in there because Lidl's didn't have any. I went in there to try. They didn't have any. Well, they did, but they only had the expensive stuff. Their home brand was missing. So I compare with Lidl's, and Lidl's, it was their home brand that they didn't have. Everybody else, well, not that Lidl sell much of anybody else's, but yeah, they have their own brand. Well, they had somebody else's. I think it was Schweppes lemonade, which yeah is very nice, but not at that price, thanks. And they didn't have their cheap orange juice. They had expensive orange juice, but they didn't have cheap orange juice. And over the weeks, I started noticing this, and it seems to be the lower priced stuff that they run short of. There's a conspiracy theory in there, you know. There's a conspiracy theory that might actually have some... Yeah, I've got my phone in here as well. It might actually have some truth to it. But I'm not going to make it up because I don't really know where to... I'm not good at making up conspiracy theories. I'm good at studying them and looking at them, but I don't make them up. Still not happy with the composition, but we'll let it ride. And then, just to confirm my suspicions, I went in for that foul imposter of Marmite that Asda make, because actually I prefer it, partly because it's nearly half the price. But they didn't have any. They didn't have any in Newton Abbot Friday night. Tons and tons and tons of real Marmite, and they had some tons of that plastic stuff. What's it called from? The place that doesn't exist according to the flat earthers, Vegemite. Had quite a lot of that. I mean, nobody stocked huge amounts of it, but they were full. Their little slot about that big allocated for Vegemite because it tastes like plastic. That was full. The Marmite shelves were all full, but their own brand is just big gaping hole. So I went to Torquay one on Saturday. Same problem. Home brands again missing. Home brands of selected items. So I looked in, what's it called? Not Harbour Freight. Home Bargains. Nearly, it begins with an H. And Home Bargains are full. They're not out of stock of anything. Yeah, thinking about it, I think only once have I seen a shortage of cake or bread, and I didn't want it anyway, so it didn't matter. Oh, ice cream. They were out of ice cream the other week. But again, it was only the cheaper end. The more expensive ice cream was fully stocked. They have run out of yoghurt, a particular brand of yoghurt, which is really annoying because it was dirt cheap, and it put enough hot chocolate powder in it, and a teaspoon of honey and stir it around. It didn't taste too bad. I think I found a better value one actually in Asda, but higher protein levels for not much more. It was actually not a bad buy. A lot of chocolate in it again, but it's okay. You can eat it, and it keeps my insides happy. But generally, Home Bargains, it is Home Bargains, isn't it? Yeah, their shelves are full. And then I went into, I think it's part of the same company, Farm Foods, because I know that they have certain cheap ice creams. It's actually Lion's Made, and it's all right. I mean, it's good value for money. And their shelves are all full. As is, or as were last time I went in there, Poundland. So does this shortage only affect big stores and only their home brands, or the really cheap stuff? Conspiracy theorists, my friends, well, until you come up with a new conspiracy theory for me to rip apart, can you go and look and find out where all these shortages are occurring? And write a conspiracy theory, and then the rest of us will have fun ripping it to bits. Unless there is a huge amount of evidence to support it, and you might be on this. Might take too long to find out. Fuel prices are shooting up. There is no shortage of fuel anymore because no one can afford to buy it. Petrol went up. Petrol I use for the bike, which is normally E10, but E10 went up by 6p a litre overnight. Now, in the good old days when we sold fuel by the gallon, if you put up the price of your fuel by 6p a gallon overnight, which is actually quite not very much per litre, there'd have been riots. But what's actually happening is they're putting it up by about 50p a gallon, but because it's in litres, no one's noticing and there are no riots. Another conspiracy theory, but it won't hold water because it goes back over far too many years, and you don't plan ripping off your population. No government would plan ripping off its population 20 years, possibly more, in advance. So we'll have real good fun when the conspiracy theorists come up with that one. Perhaps they not. Perhaps they aren't that clever. It's making life difficult. And it's making what I wanted to do with this channel pretty well impossible, actually. If you're going to go somewhere, you go somewhere exciting and do an outdoor video, and you think, yeah, it's going to cost me 40, 50 quid in fuel. You don't do it. And now the trains aren't any cheaper. And you'll notice price increases in the shop. This is due to high fuel prices. I moan about having to pay an extra 6p a litre for diesel. Diesel is now cheapest diesel I can get, I think, is £1.45 a litre. This time last year it was about £1.10. So that's a huge price increase. It's over £1 a gallon, well over £1 a gallon, £1.50 a gallon ish in 12 months. That's a lot. So, you know, it's making life difficult for a lot of people. I have a lot of friends that say, what is it? I just can't afford the fuel anymore. I can understand that. I seriously understand that. The problem is, although the hauliers do get a discount on their diesel because they buy 20,000 gallons at a time, they're still paying a higher price than they were. And of course that is passed on to the customer, who is the big stores that require Arctics to deliver to them. So they're having to pay out for it, and they pass that on to the customer. Somebody work out how much an extra penny on one item actually makes when you consider that item being distributed around the country at 100,000 items a day. Probably a lot more, actually, probably getting on near 500,000. Each lorry, I don't know what they hold, but let's take an example. Cream crackers. Cream crackers got a penny a packet. They haven't done. Well, they haven't in Lidl's anyway. Other things have gone up quite noticeably, but not cream crackers. If you put penny on, it brings them up to pretty much the same price as Asda and other places with their home brand. Whatever, it's still cheaper than the posh ones by about 60. No, it's about 60% cheaper than the posh ones. But you put penny on that, no one's actually going to notice. Lidl did. Few months back, well, it could be quite a long time ago, they did. They've gone up. They come back down. They take that extra penny off the following week. Everyone stop buying them. It's nothing. But I don't know how many packets of cream crackers they squeeze into an Arctic when they deliver. But it's quite a few. And if you think about that spread across the whole country, it's probably 1,000 or so. You spread that across the whole country, they are making considerably more than they lost on the price increase in diesel. Everyone's profiteering about it. The guys say, it's a fuel shortage, we'll put our prices up to stop people from bulk buying. And they put their prices up because no one's buying now. They went in for give the bike a treat and give it some super duper petrol, not diesel. And the pumps were empty, the tanks were full, and the place which had queues going back, 20-minute wait in a queue, has now got pumps that are just standing there empty. There's one other car in there, and that's because the prices have gone up. And people, we can walk the 100 yards to school for the kids. think about it, and as I say, if the conspiracy theorists want to get hold of it and run with it, that's brilliant. We'll have great fun with that, and we might even end up agreeing with at least half of what they say. If they start saying little green men did it, we won't agree with them. The other thing, really quickly, because I've been meaning to say it for a while, is about drones. Just to cheer up some of my droney friends who are running around panicking about where they can fly. Drone safe, go and look it up. But more importantly, if you put that video on YouTube, you are not breaking any laws. They've done away with the commercial license. They put in other things and restrictions on where you can fly without certain permissions and certain licensing. But if you're flying A1 or A3 category and you put your video on YouTube and you monetize that video, that is not considered commercial because it is not commissioned. Nobody's come along and asked you to do it. The difference between it making money from ad revenue and being commercial, if somebody comes up and says, I'll give you 20 quid to film me dog from your drone or whatever, that's commercial. That's where you could run into trouble. But you certainly can't anymore, and it's from the beginning of this year, so yeah, okay, I wasn't flying drones then, so didn't know. But from the beginning of this year, it's all gone. You can do that. And the CAA have wisely decreed that ad revenue from social posting your stuff on social media is not commercial, it's accidental. It's an accidental income. You didn't plan for it, which you don't, because you don't know how much you're going to get. Infinite wisdom. The other thing about drones, I meant to bring the drone in actually. He's next door. I'll drag him in one day and hold him up there. Oh, look, a drone. The other thing is, I sort of thought about, it's got little flashing lights on it. You know where this is going, don't you?
Hi guys.
Hello. Little friend just arrived, just to remind us. Yeah, flying at night. Right, okay. Can you fly drones at night in the UK? Opinion is divided. About 50% say, oh, no, you've got to have a night rating. Night rating on what? As say the other lot. Because it's not manned, it's actually going to be quite difficult unless they invent a night rating for drones, which nobody knows of. You can't really have a night rating. You can't stick it on your PPL because you haven't got a PPL because it's a drone. So you've got a drone license. I haven't got it with me. It's a bit of paper about that size. What do you do? So people have looked at this quite carefully, and another good site for the dronists is the Grey Arrows, which is basically a forum which I belong to, and they come up with some interesting stuff. And this argument was going on there, and we had the guys that fly drones and also fly manned aircraft saying, oh, you've got to have a night rating, oh, blah 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 blah. And somebody else said, well, if you look at the drone code, it doesn't mention flying at night. Not at all. It doesn't say you can, they say. Well, it doesn't say you can, therefore you've got to have a night rating. It doesn't say you can't. And if it was that bigger an issue, certainly the CAA would put, you do not fly your drone at night. They wouldn't admit that. They've managed to sort of dot the T's and cross the I's on everything else, down to which blade of grass you have to avoid. But they don't say anything about flying a drone at night. So our little green friend who's gotten his saucer and disappeared, he'll be pleased about that, because everyone will now say, oh, it's a drone, and they can come down and do what they like. Interesting thought. If anyone can find out for absolute 100% definite that we can fly drones at night, please stick something in the comment. I'm not particularly interested in people saying, oh no, my mate's a pilot and he says you can't, you've got to have a night rating, because actually that's a completely different area of aviation. And although some of the regulations are very similar, many are not. You don't have to have a medical to fly a drone. that's it for now before it gets far too long. The other thing, two things that I desperately want to talk about, which is why I'm going to get a move on and do something, are going back to how the drone conversation has just started about commercial use of drones, ownership and copyright of images and therefore music and anything else. That will be brief because I'm not an expert on that. So we will look at that, and I will stick links in the descriptions on that particular video. And the other one, which we've also sort of crossed tonight, is how do you fund your YouTube hobby when, I mean, it's all about views, isn't it? You I mean, I don't care what people say. I do have friends who do not hunt views. I've got to push my glasses on again. It's first time this video. We're doing well. I'll just have a little shift around. It's something that most of us do. I do have some friends who are not interested in counting views or subscribers. They just do it basically somewhere to store their videos of their own memories and things, and that's fine. That's fine. But most of us are slightly competitive when it comes to YouTube. It's like, I've got more subs than you. Oh, look, I've got more views than you. And how do we fund that? Because one thing I have noticed is that I can't stay in. It's very much a makeshift studio. It's actually half electronics workshop as well. I don't have room to put things on the bench to video them whilst I burn myself with a soldering iron. There's a video I would love to do. My sat-nav Virginie, some of you will have met Virginie. She snuffed it. She hasn't snuffed it. She's exceedingly ill. She can't be used. I'm pretty sure I know what the problem is. I can buy the parts. If I send it back to Garmin, they'll charge me nearly the price of a new sat-nav. We've got Celine now as a temporary measure, but Celine just isn't the same as Virginie. Build quality for one thing. But Virginie is fairly simple to make better. She needs a screen transplant. I've got to buy the screen, and I can't justify forking out for a screen to mend a sat-nav, which at the moment I don't actually need. But it would be a good video for a lot of people on YouTube. Oh, that's actually a message. They'll have to wait. It would be a good video for people. So we're going to look at how do you fund your YouTube hobby? How can you fund your YouTube hobby? What's the realities of it? So we've got those two to come, funding YouTube, and also related to YouTube, the copyright issues and ownership of image of the intellectual material. That's going to be full of posh words, isn't it? It's got to be. If you've survived this far, well done. Have a virtual Mars bar. There you are. It's a virtual Mars bar. I'll shove it down the microphone. And we'll see you all again soon. Don't forget, Hosanna will be back later this year. And there'll be a surprise with that. It's going to be a bit different. See you all again soon. Don't forget to drive carefully. Oh, our little friend's been in, so fly your flying saucer carefully as well. And we'll see you, hopefully, fairly soon. Bye for now.